What's up, y'all? It's just Rhonda. Welcome to my channel. We got a new show, y'all. It's not really that new. It's been here. We're at episode 5. And my plan was to be over here, to review the show. I'm here to review the show. I just didn't get in on episode 1. I've been watching. What had happened was we had 2 Belle collectives, a Love and Marriage Huntsville and a Real Housewives of Atlanta, and I just was very overwhelmed. And so here I am. We're going to talk about the show. It's a really good show. Y'all like the video, subscribe to the channel. I feel like these Belles over here are very refreshing. The casting is there's some good casting. There's some interesting women over here. Everybody, a full individual with businesses and family, mothers and, bosses and all of the kind of things that we like, and a little bit of mess, but we like that too. Yeah, so I'm here, not to review each show. Child, when I get text messages in the middle, of in the middle of a recording, live, what have you. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Yeah, the show is refreshing. The casting is great. The mess is messy, just like we like it. And obviously, I'm not going to go through and review the episode, piece by piece. And I probably won't be doing that so much anymore. I feel like now I'm just going to focus on like certain events that happens during the show. And if y'all want to see like the whole script, you can go ahead and tune in. But I definitely suggest you do. We come over here, we as content creators, as YouTubers that review these shows, I feel like it's across the board a lot of times that we're bored. We're tired of the arguments at the dinner tables, even though there was some of that over there, but we needed something fresh, and I think that's definitely what we got over here. So we're gonna start here. The show is centered around Stormi Steele. We know Stormi from Love and Marriage Huntsville, and Stormi was established as a successful business in the beauty industry, Canvas Beauty. People were familiar with her products before she came, to Love and Marriage Huntsville. Obviously, there was a lot of exposure. Love and Marriage Huntsville has its niche of fans. I've been over there, not since the beginning, but yeah, since the beginning for the most part. And Stormi, I did not think Stormi was a good fit over there, especially after, her and Mel didn't connect necessarily. Now that I have gotten to know Stormi a little bit better, not personally, obviously, but just we see Stormi like who she is, I can see why her and Mel didn't jive so well. So Stormi gets a lot of hate out here. Y'all are weird. I feel like it's so weird to like have so much hate towards someone that you don't know, but not y'all, but there's people out there that do weird shit. And hating Stormi, I like Stormi and Mel. They're 2 different women on 2 different planes. They happen to be, in the beauty industry, and I'm pretty sure they're both doing well. But Stormi is over here doing outstanding. She is the first person, not black woman, not black man, just white, green, yellow, whatever. She's the first person to sell 1 million on live on TikTok, and then she went on to surpass that. I think it's something like 2.5 million sold on live. So that has nothing to do with what she's selling, and through her business. just on live. So shout out to Stormi for being, an entrepreneur, groundbreaking. We have seen Stormi go through ups and downs in her business. I think a lot of people feel like, especially the ones that don't like Stormi, we're kind of reveling in, the bumps that go along with business. Stormi is somebody, whose business grew very quickly, I feel like, and you have to figure out who's supposed to be in certain positions. I've seen Stormi do interviews. I would like to see her sit down like with somebody on a big platform so we can get to know Stormi. I mean, she's very transparent and sharing like what, her journey has been through this. We've watched her deal with, almost, bankrupting her company to coming back, and she's the comeback kid for real. This time around, she has a partnership with Lala Anthony. This is her first celebrity partnership. So, yeah, doing big things over here, Stormi. Love to see it. Stormi is looking freaking fantastic. I'm gonna go ahead and get into Stormi and her business. So we're gonna share a little bit of what Stormi had to say. I like to, get it from the horse's mouth and share with y'all what was being said over here by these individuals. We're gonna meet everybody, but like I said, the show is centered around Stormi. So what I got going on over here. So in her businesses and what she's got going on, and that's made it very interesting. It's I'm just glad to see Black women.
Seller in the United States. My highest grossing live number is 2.2 million in a single live stream. Most people think it has to look like you're selling, but what I encourage people to do is to lead with emotion. Somebody's going to be scrolling, somebody's going to see you, and don't say, oh, I got this product, this is exactly what it does. Like, we've seen that a million times. We have so many products, and it's like, why you though? This isn't daytime TV. Like, this is live. That's the beauty of it. You can be fluid, you can be flexible, you can be yourself. It's 2026. Nobody wants to be sold to. I am.
Especially, she says nobody wants to be sold to, but we do to some extent. I think Stormi has found a different way. You know what I mean? And you have to. She's innovative, and people get bored, like I said, so you have to find new ways to engage with them. I haven't tried her product yet. I'm going to. I have tried her hair products before. The shampoo and conditioner, and maybe she has more added onto the line. The shampoo and conditioner smell like bubblegum and stuff, and I'm not really into, hair products that smell like fruits and bubblegum and that kind of thing. She does have a hair oil, a scalp oil that I do like. It doesn't smell like anything. And that's a good thing, because you don't want to keep like having different aromas piled on. But by the time you do your skincare and your body care, she does, speaking of body care, have body let's just look at it, because she got a lot going on over here. We'll start with the partnership that she has with Lala. You can see she's got intense roll-on. What is the roll-on? We're just going to go on a journey down Stormi's website so you can see what it is. So for $21, she got some things marked down, y'all. And, that's always a good thing. That's a good thing for people who are interested in trying something new. And you might get scared away at the price. Now, don't be too scared, because you could pay like on time over here with orders, with Klarna and Afterpay and things like that. So don't let the price tag scare you. But $21, let's see what this is. It's introducing the Canvas Lala Anthony limited edition collection, an exclusive fragrance and body care collaboration created to embody confidence, sensuality, and modern femininity. This is not just a scent launch. This is a signature. Each fragrance was crafted to evolve on the skin, and opening with brilliance, softening into elegance, and finishing a lasting, unforgettable trail. It's cute or whatever. It's a little roll-on. You could carry that around in your purse. So, and this is how like it gives you the notes. spice rose, honey bell orange, sweet cherry. This sounds like a sweet one. Jasmine, peony petals. You can look on here, because normally we get a chance to go in the store and, the lady sprays the thing on the paper, which is not accurate. When they're spraying it on the paper, that tells you nothing about how fragrances, mesh with your body chemistry, but it gives you an idea what the fragrance, like whether you're going to like it or not. So here she has the scents listed. I feel like at this point, most people know what scents they like. If you don't, well, then maybe this ain't the lane for you. But, for the most part, I think people know what they like. We've got the body glaze. Now, this is what I'm interested in. Not this one, not this Lala one, because I don't want to commit. This one is marked down. It was $100. Now, this I was kind of side-eyeing a little bit. Her body glazes are not this expensive. It's just the one that she collabed with Lala. So I don't know what the fragrance is, and I probably won't because I'm not spending $70 on a body glaze. But what you can do to introduce yourself, let me hit this right quick since I'm here. What is this? Body drops. Lala body drops. It sounds so luxurious. What are the body drops? Introducing the Canvas and Lala Anthony limited edition collection, an exclusive fragrance and body care collaboration created to embody confidence, sensual. Oh, it says the same thing, but what does the body drops do? Maybe it's just like another form of, a fragrance. Just instead of the roll-on, it's the drops. But what you can do that I do like is she's got the samples, the sample sets. And I'm going to go ahead and get a sample set just as soon as I do a little, investigation and see what it is, which aromas I like. Now, the samples are $36. And I'm sure that's because, you got all these little ones, but you can decide which one you like before you invest in, the bigger body glazes. And I think they're $32, but yeah, you get a sample pack and you can see there's a couple different options. So you can choose the aromas that you like. And, like I said, from there, you could go ahead and decide which ones you like. Listen, I'm a big fan of spending money, being very careful about where I spend my dollars. And so I'm going to be out here supporting the Black business. And I'm here, watching Stormi grow. So why not try? Yeah, her body glazes are $32, y'all. So if you're interested, if you're not out here being a hater and you want to see what Miss Stormi has going on, take a gander over at her website and, see what her glazes and body drops and things are like. It's summertime. It's almost summertime. Here in Florida, it's summertime. So the sun is out, the heat is out, and the sundresses are out. And we need to get our thighs and our calf muscles and everything glazed up when we step outside the house. So what's going on over here with Stormi? Stormi is obviously, in Huntsville with her estate. But I believe she's from Birmingham. And so now with this Bells of Birmingham, Stormi has to come outside of her comfort zone over there on her, like I said, on her estate and get to know these ladies of Birmingham. From what I see, Birmingham is it's the up and coming city. I feel like Atlanta has got a lot of the shine, but they are saying or comparing Birmingham to Atlanta. They're calling it a little Atlanta. And so that means that, it's populated with Black people in business. Birmingham, I don't know much about Birmingham. I've been there before and I wasn't, it wasn't a trip where I got a chance to like really check it out. Cities in the South are little different from cities in the North, I feel like, because you do have a lot of like Southern slow, and I don't mean slow like as in the people, I mean slow as in not so much hustle and bustle. So you get a good family life and that kind of thing. So, we're going to see. We're going to get to know Birmingham based on what these ladies are bringing over here. And Stormi is getting to know these ladies on her cast. She's bringing her business over here to Birmingham and getting to see, how she gets along with everyone. So I'll start here we got Miss Amber. So Amber is Stormy's CFO, and her cousin, her niece, up there in the top picture, Kylan, I want to say her name is. Forgive me if I got it wrong, but um, Amber is a former basketball player. She's a socialite. I think she's, claimed to fame being connected over here with people in Birmingham. She's Stormy CFO. And I'm not sure how long they've known each other. I think they may go back. They definitely have a relationship. It's cool to see, like I said, Stormy employing these Black people. Um, Not just women, Black people in general. She's taken her time, and after having the bumps along the way, I feel like she has managed to formulate a team, that's working for her. Clearly, that's working for her. And when you have a team, and her business is she's so close to it, you know what I mean? It's not just something that she slapped her name on. She's really been focusing on developing. And Stormy has a history in the beauty industry. She was behind the chair, and I think she says she majored in art and photography. So she's a creative all around. Anyway, we're talking about Amber. Amber is her CFO. Now, a little bit about Amber. She's a former basketball player, if I haven't said that already. And she's single. She lives with her niece here. Amber's struggle, I would say, is that she's getting older. She's not married. She doesn't have any children. So Amber is sharing her IVF journey with us. I think is we're always like, go ahead, get the IVF, do the IVF, freeze your eggs. You know what I'm saying? So that's what she's doing right now, and we get to see like how the interference, I guess you would call it, with the hormones is, what she's going through. I think that's one of the parts that we don't understand. So we get to see her in real time, like the effects of the hormones and the treatment. And it's expensive. And if it doesn't work, then you have to do it again. So, that's where she's at with it. Amber has a little bit of an issue with one of the cast members. We'll get into that. I'll go, because I'll be all over the place and distracted. So yeah, that's Amber. She works for Stormy. She's like, a socialite, very connected to the who's who in Birmingham, probably based on her career choice. I don't know. I think she's from there. Her mother went on the IVF trip to the doctor with her to the egg. Yeah, it's not egg retrieval. Is it egg retrieval? Anyway, her mother went with her. Her mother's a Southern woman, very Southern. And, she doesn't understand why her daughter will be going through this. She thinks her solution to her problems is just to get a man. You wouldn't have to go through this if you had a man. Her mother, everything. You need a man. You got to get a man. Get you a man. Now, I'm not saying anything about Amber. She's not giving off any type of vibes necessarily in terms of her sexuality. But I feel like based on her mother's concern, that her mother is worried that her daughter might be gay. And I'm not saying that's what it is, but I'm like, the whole, you got to get a man, go get a man, got to get a man, got to have a man. It was like a lot, mama. So, and she's a basketball player. She's a beautiful former basketball player. These basketball players, once they get glammed up, it like transitions into a model. So yeah, Amber is a beautiful girl. She's clearly about her business. And we're going to see over the course of these episodes the conflict between Amber in Birmingham and the relationship with, some of the ladies being in the middle. When you work for somebody and then maybe Stormy doesn't get along necessarily with all these women. I won't even just say Stormy. This is a new collective. So the women are trying to figure out, honestly, who they click with, who they connect with. And yeah, there's some challenges there to some extent. Who else we got? We got Miss Fumi. Fumi is a Nigerian influencer. She's a fashion girly. Fumi is over here. I think she designs, the clothing, the African clothing, which for me usually it's the most authentic when it comes from an African designer. American designer, I don't know. I feel like everything means something. You need to know the culture before you consider yourself, a African designer. But she's fallen into the influencer space. She's married. She's got these two boys. She's the only woman in her house. So, Fumi is used to getting all the attention. You know what I'm saying? And having all the calling the shots, all the common sense is over there with Fumi. One thing I will say that's different over here is these women are very independent and they seem to have husbands that are not lame, like the ones over there on Belle Collective Jackson. There's no Glenn over here. There's no honestly, what's his name? Latrice husband, Cliff. Latrice and Cliff are successful, but Cliff as a husband is terrible. We've seen it. We're just getting over here to get to know these ladies. We haven't seen any terrible husbands, but we have husbands that are successful. Funmi's husband is an attorney. So I'm feeling like, they live well. And I feel like her husband is actually the breadwinner of the house, but she has her own. We're going to go over here and look at Fumi's Instagram so y'all can see, her as an influencer, because that's where all the business is over here. Let's share and find out a little bit about Fumi from Birmingham, Alabama. Obviously, she's not from Birmingham, but let's see. She's so cute. Fumi has a very vibrant personality. She's outspoken, but not in a rude way, not in an irritating way. Here's her and her man over here, child, doing all the things. Yeah, she's doing that Louis Vuitton. She's doing, the high fashion things. She goes to New York Fashion Week. Her family is so good looking. Look at Fumi, giving you a little bit of thigh. So she's styling. I think she does styling. How cute. She's a little bitty thing. She says she's 4'9", 5 foot on a good day, but she got her proportions together. I don't know what this photo shoot is about, but look how handsome they are. Maybe it was just, for the Belle Collective. So you can see she does what the influencers do. It's kind of like a lifestyle thing. So we're getting great food and, I'm sure, like most influencers, she gets, endorsements and things from these people. Giving it, girl. Look at her. She gonna do a makeup tutorial for y'all. Boom. Yeah. That I feel like that's hard work, to be honest. But she's giving you, the good life and the family life. And like I said, if you watch the show, Fumi has a very vibrant personality. She's at 147,000 followers. I feel like after this is over, let's be nosy. Go to her story. Well, that's the same thing over there. I feel like after, being on the show, she's definitely gonna grow in her numbers, and she's just as lovable as she wants to be. So I see Fumi doing, other things. Fumi and Stormi definitely have a good connection. I'm really just enjoying the fact that these people, are getting along to for the most part and showing more of what they're doing in terms of business and family and that kind of thing. Well, the mess will happen, but I don't want another reality show that's just mess or manufactured mess. And I would prefer, having something that's a little bit more authentic. And yeah, Fumi and Stormi have a great connection. They, I think, have a mutual respect for one another as business women. You can't look at what Stormi has done over the last couple years and not admire it, especially in this space. And when you're going to be growing as a business, it's really important to network with people who are also growing. You have to have like-minded people around, I feel like, to be successful. That's why there's no room for haters, because if you're going to be over here hating, you're just standing in the way of progress. Who else we got over here real quick? Okay, so Kayla is an interesting story. Kayla has a model and talent agency. Kayla got married at 18 to a 30 something year old man. So I feel like Kayla has been sheltered and groomed and in a household. She said that she was dating her husband when she was 17 years old. He was in his 30s. And I'm sure now looking back, she knows what was really happening. But in the moment, it feels like Kayla was raised by her husband. She has four children, but I feel like she was in her household like the big sister to her children, and the man was raising all of them. She said when her mother found out that she was with her husband, she kicked her out of the house. And so I don't know how that's a solution to anything. That's unfortunate. Her father passed when she was 11. Her mother kicked her out and basically sent her over, with this man. But Kayla is divorced now. She's been divorced. I think her divorce just went through, but divorcing takes time. Um, and she has her business, her model agency. She said that one of her children had the opportunity to be in the Wakanda movie, in the Black Panther movie. And from there, she kind of turned into somebody who like preps people's children, model and talent agency. She said it's been 8 years now, so clearly she's successful at it. She says she went from making $14,000 in a year, and she says she makes that in some days. Now I don't know how she's turning it into that, but I'm hoping to find out. And in spite of whatever she was dealing with in the home with that man that was raising her from a teenager, she's now finding her independence to some extent. She's already dating another man, and he's another older man, 17, 18 years older than her, but she's in her comfort zone, and at least this time around she's in her 30s. So we're going to see what's going to go on with Miss Kayla. And Chow, who else we got? And then there's Tiffany. So Tiffany Tiffany thinks she run in Birmingham. It seems as though she just got married. Her husband has a son. She has a daughter, and together they have the little baby. And she has such a complicated time trying to, figure out how to explain that to us. But Tiffany is Ricky Smiley's niece. So I feel like that makes her a certain type of, status in Birmingham because, Ricky Smiley is a big deal in Birmingham, I'm sure. So this is his niece. And I don't know what her husband does. They have they're building their company. They're marketing themselves on Jesus and marriage. So Tiffany is the head of the Jesus Girls. Who are the Jesus Girls? Amber is one of the Jesus Girls. And she's got her best friend, the mayor's wife. We'll get to her, one of the sidekicks. So, yeah, she's the leader of the Jesus Girls. They do things like have prayer meetings and and be mean to people. This group of Jesus Girls, not all of them, but the HBIC and her bestie does. So yeah, that's how they're marketing. They're having their new website comes out. This is the thing about Tiffany. I find her to be very fake. And we know, Tiffany and Stormi don't necessarily get along because, I think because Tiffany is very fake. And that was the issue I feel like with Stormi and Melanie. Stormi prefers a more real individual, not that over the top kind of fake, phony. Don't be mad at me. And y'all know that Mel be acting fake. So, it is what it is. But this isn't about her. Her name comes up in conversations where she don't belong. And that's all my fault. Yeah, so Tiffany and her husband, he surprise engaged her. Let's just get into it. I'll let y'all determine like what you feel about Tiffany. She's not really my favorite, but she was over here on the Tamara Hall show on the series. Her and her husband had a moment where she said she wanted another baby. And he said he did not want another baby. He wants a vasectomy, but seems as though she got her way because I believe she's pregnant. So never mind what he said. She wants what she wants. But here's her. I guess they went viral because he proposed to her and surprised her with a proposal and a wedding all on the same day. I don't know about y'all, but I would not want that. So don't give me a surprise wedding because I'm not here for it. But here she is performing at her supposed to be. I don't think she was surprised at all when they were just having a get together and talking. Tiffany said her friend was getting married and she thought it was just going to be a girls' day where they try on dresses, and she found the dress that she wanted, and so she put it on layaway, not knowing that he was about to propose. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's the beginning. But listen. That's just the start of the twists and turns. Look what happened next.
You don't need Botox to contour your jowls.
I love how she just happened to be wearing a white dress for the proposal. It was very wedding-esque. Supposedly, this was supposed to be his birthday party.
Husband and wife, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. You may kiss your bride.
Okay, Willie surprised the love of his life, Tiffany, with a wedding. And just minutes into their engagement, they became husband and wife. Cam fam joining us today from Birmingham, Alabama. Please welcome TikTok famous newlyweds, Tiffany.
Let's scoot it along a little bit. Well, we'll go right here first.
And Willie, good to see you. Oh my gosh. Leon was just saying sometimes you meet people and you feel like you've known them.
I just want to get to, because I feel, yeah, here it is.
In the house or anybody knows what you're about to say.
No.
Right? Well, take it away.
First of all, girl, where is your teeth? How she got half of her mouth teeth missing and she opening her mouth that big? But So Tiffany is pregnant, even though her husband wants a vasectomy, but you can see Tiffany is very much over the top. Let me see. We're going to go to Tiffany. She had a little story. So according to Tiffany, she was having a birthday dinner for her husband, and he surprised her with a proposal and a wedding. So, I don't know, the wedding dress was on layaway or something, but it ended up over here. I guess her best friend, maybe it's, one of her friends, the mayor's wife, whoever it was, so had her wedding dress delivered over their child. And guess what happened? Now she's a Jesus girl, so I have my opinion about this, but she went from the proposal straight to the wedding, and on the honeymoon, she claims this is where she got pregnant with the baby. We just gonna let them tell their story. It says, imagine getting pregnant on your surprise wedding night. So the very night she got surprised by her husband with a wedding, she also got pregnant. Surprise proposal, surprise wedding, and then surprise baby on the wedding night. That's what she said. I feel like Tiffany is a Jesus girl. She's the head of the Jesus girls, and she could not come over here, to her social circle, down to the prayer group, pregnant by a man that she is not married to. This is just my opinion. So I feel like, she hurried up, her and her fiance. She had orchestrated this whole thing. Because one thing about Tiffany, there's nothing more important to her than to be chosen. That's the name of their brand. That's how they're marketing themselves. Choosing love. It's important to be chosen, and that chosen is on the hats and on the t-shirts. And then of course, she's a mommy, hat wearing person. So they're, like I said, marketing the traditional Christian values. And I don't believe for a second that this lady had a surprise wedding or that she got pregnant on her wedding night. But that's the story that she's telling. She's got to do it that way in order to, stay, like I said, in a certain status with her church friends and whatnot. So we'll get into the sidekicks right quick, and then the beef. It's 5 episodes, so there's a lot to cover over here. We got Sonetta in the yellow, and what's her name? There's a lot of K's over here. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, she's the young lady in the suit in the gray. She's the wife of the mayor, and Sonetta is, a friend of. These two are friends of. I like that the friends of are very much involved in the storyline. The friends of are there, and I think that's something that a lot of the shows miss the mark on, is they bring the cast over here with no real outsiders, like Letitia Pearson over here trying to bring in people every random. That's not what I mean. These ladies are here. They're staples from the very beginning. Kendra, that's the other lady's name. Sonetta, I believe her husband is he's works at a car dealership. So she's very much regular. She's another young lady out here trying to, create an influencer lifestyle. And she's very agreeable. Sonetta doesn't really get into a lot of mess with these ladies. This here is pictures from Fumi's get together. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, she's in a lot of the scenes, like, just being very, like I said, agreeable, nice lady. How many followers? She got 12,000 followers. So she's on her way to being an influencer. Beautiful lady. I was trying to find, there was a video of her down to the car dealership. She was helping her man sell these cars. Anyway, y'all could go check it out. She's gorgeous. She does a lot of events, I think, because she had an event over here, and all the ladies were talking about how Sonetta's events are always so good. And like I said, she's a friend of, she's not a main cast member, but she's definitely been involved in the storyline. Sonetta has been pretty much in all the scenes, where the ladies were having any type of get together, any group get together that was going on. She was here. And Kendra, I didn't save hers. Kendra's the mayor's wife. So, and Tiffany's friend. That's really all there is to say about that. Let me plug this in. And let's get into the beef a little bit. First little, I'll talk about this one. So you got Amber and you got Kayla and Kylan. Again, I think that's her name. Kylan, of course, is Amber's niece. So Amber has an issue with Kayla in the middle. She says she didn't speak. That's her reason for not liking this girl. I don't know. The lady walked into an event and she said like a general hello, but I guess Amber feels like she needs to be addressed directly because, she's the CFO over at Stormi's business. And so I'm guessing, I don't know why. I feel like that, like I said, there's the Jesus girls that meet together. And I feel like, Christ-like girls or whatever. This is Amber's title. I'm not making this up. This is what she said, the Christ girls or the Jesus girls, whatever she said. They all meet up and, have prayer together and whatnot. And Kayla is not a member of that group. Now, I don't know, like, if that's a reason to have beef with someone, but Kayla is a little bit quirky. Kayla has also been sheltered because we know that she, went straight from her mama's house into the house of that man. So how she connects with other women is a little bit awkward because it's something that she didn't get the opportunity to, have girlfriends and do girlfriend things, as a young woman. She was, over there in the house with her daddy husband. So yeah, Amber, I'm not sure what that's about. I think, I'm side-eyeing her a little bit. Um, because I don't feel like it's a reason to have an issue with someone. They had a sit down. Um, Stormy had a pre-launch party. That's where the show started. A majority of the show so far has definitely been surrounding Stormy's business, and and like I said, the women trying to bond with each other. One thing, Stormy and Latrice over there on the other Belle Collective, y'all and these Teslas. Now I have a problem with that. I'm tired of people that look like us driving Teslas. Y'all get rid of the Teslas. It's such a bad look. It's it hurts me down to my soul. Um anyway, she had a little launch party over in Birmingham. That was the first opportunity for the ladies to get together. And yeah, this is where Amber first mentioned her issue with Kayla. Stormy created a situation where they could sit down and figure it out. And, Kayla said, yeah, I feel like you didn't speak to me. You walk in the room and you don't speak to me. And that's what Amber said. And Kayla's like, what? Like, she's clueless. I don't think, I don't know. I don't know these people that need a specific hello. And if you really wanted to say hi to this girl, then I don't know why Amber didn't just go say hi to her. It just seems like a weird reason to not. When I walk into a room full of people, you want me to come single you out. Maybe Kayla did it on purpose. I don't know. But, from what I'm getting from Kayla, it ain't that. Now, with Kyron, on the other hand, Kayla made a statement because Kyla is very high energy, just like the other one, Tiffany. She's always bouncing around and jumping around. She also works for Stormy. She's one of her brand ambassadors. So she does a lot of, promoting of that's what the business got to do now. You got to get these influencers out here talking about your business. So both Amber and Kyla, her niece, work for Stormy, and Kayla first at an event said out loud in front of a group of people, like, what is she on? She's got so much energy. And then she went to her comment section and said, girl, you was doing so much. Where you get your energy from? We thought you did a line or something like that. The implication that this lady was over here on some cocaine, and that's why she has so much energy, which, now, for me, that's a reason. That's a reason to have an issue with someone. The whole not speaking thing, I feel like Amber is doing a lot with that. And so the other situation would be Funmi, Tiffany, and Stormy. Funmi met Tiffany at Stormy's pre-launch party. Like I said, she had the party over in Birmingham. It was her opportunity to kind of get to know the Bells. This was, Amber's idea. Obviously, we got to do events over here in Birmingham because the show is based in Birmingham. So Stormy has to travel. She did her event over there. It was beautiful. I haven't seen Stormy do nothing yet that wasn't, really well put together. Even when she was over on Huntsville, her events were really nice. Funmi not getting the vibe from Tiffany. She said Tiffany, gave her a vibe that she wasn't feeling. We all know what that's like. And this is an opportunity, like I said, for these Bells, the first opportunity for these Bells to get together, on camera and start seeing what the chemistry is. Tiffany thinks that she's supposed to be the center of attraction. Funmi also has, all of them have big personalities, but I think Funmi is she's, like I said, very outgoing, very vivacious. She's talk to everyone. And Tiffany, I feel like, thinks that's stepping on her toes because she wants to be the center of attention. But she is, but not for the same reason. And I think, there's a difference between being bubbly and being fake. And what Funmi is giving is definitely vibrancy and fun. And what Tiffany is giving is fake and phony and low-key mean. But yeah, that's what happened over there. And then with Stormy, the situation, and in the beginning, honestly, Stormy was kind of I don't think she was into that in that moment. She was so busy focused on her business and what was happening over there. And Tiffany was clearly taking it in, what Stormy's doing, how she's running her business. So Fumi has the ladies over and to her house. She hosted the ladies at her house. And I'm gonna show you some of the pictures. Who had the pictures? That was Signetta. She had the ladies over to her house, and she mentioned to Stormi, like, everybody was really nice at your event except for this Tiffany girl. Now, see, Stormi don't know this lady either, so she's like, really? She was like, yeah, the vibe was just off. I guess, Stormi was talking to her friend Kendra, and Tiffany told her, don't try to steal my best friend, or I guess I'll let you borrow my best friend, or something strange. Where's that darn picture at? Here it is. So this is the event over at Fumi's house, and she had them modeling her design. So this is the dress that Signetta had on over at the party. It looked like they had a lot of fun. They're in the kitchen, kind of hanging out. She had this spread with Nigerian food. She also had a little caviar for them. They wasn't really about that caviar life. I don't like it either. I'm not mad at it. And here they are, just admiring her designs. Here's everybody from the cast and the design that they picked out, or that she picked out for them for her event. So this was just her first time, like I said, getting to know the ladies, and it was okay. She still got a weird vibe from Miss Tiffany. Miss Tiffany be talking down to people, I've noticed. She came in the house, and I guess it was cold outside. You know how you speak to people. Now, Fumi was already feeling like everybody was cool except Tiffany. I don't know where she be coming from. So she comes in the house and she says to Fumi, Fumi, are you checking coats? And I was like, bitch, what do you mean? Are we checking coats? Because, that's rude. She don't work for you. I feel like she talks to people as if they're supposed to be serving her. We'll get into that a little bit more. When they told Amber, I guess Fumi's home, Stormi comes first, then comes Amber. They were discussing with Amber, what the conversation was about. And Fumi was like, I really want vibing with Tiffany. I don't really know what she be on. And Amber's like, oh my God, because Tiffany is just always so upbeat and she's so outgoing. And like I said, outgoing and phony is, two different things. I'm side-eyeing Amber just a little bit because, of her defense of someone like Tiffany. I don't get Tiffany. Clearly, I'm not a fan of Tiffany, and I'm not the only one. Because when that lady walked in the door, Stormi had a little, friend with her, Trey. Trey is Stormi's rescue dog. He only has 3 legs. That's why she called him Trey. Trey was in there just enjoying being pampered because he's a little lap dog. So, he's loving all this attention that he's getting from the people. And when Tiffany walked in the door, the dog went crazy. He was like, get the bitch out of here. And I was like, that told me everything I needed to know. Because I had a little pocket puppy like Trey. And my baby was Max. And Max pretty much loved being rubbed on and all the attention and carried around and all of that stuff. But there was a few people in my lifetime, in his lifetime, that, we ran across that he had that same reaction to. And Stormi's like, he doesn't act like that. I was like, I'm good. I know. Trey said immediately, no, the lady didn't come near him or nothing. She walked in the room and he lost it. And so for me, I was like, yeah, something up with her. When the people when the puppy don't like you just because you walked in the room, that says a lot, Miss Tiffany. Fumi don't have a vibe with you. Trey don't have a vibe with you. And if I'm being honest, I feel like that right there was the straw for Stormi. I think as soon as her dog acted like that, she was on, side eye for Tiffany. So Tiffany is having a couples night. This is what her and her husband do. They plan events just for married people, which, I mean, I don't know. It excludes everybody, but that's her brand. So Fumi says to Tiffany, I heard you're having an event. Now, I feel like nobody would be inviting themselves to an event just to be inviting themselves, but it's a show. And we do know that people get paid for filming. So the fact that Tiffany had her first event, because Fumi had her first, little get-together gathering, and she invited everyone. Now, when Tiffany has her, first gathering, she wants to exclude people. Fumi is married, but I'm guessing her husband, I don't know if he was out of town or what the situation was. That's the excuse that Tiffany used. But if she's married, why wouldn't she get the invitation? I mean, give her the opportunity to say no. But she did not. She did not include her. She told Fumi, is whatever her husband's name, is he here? And Fumi's like, no. So Stormi said she would come. The only person invited from the Bells was Amber, who's not married. So, I don't know what she thought. I think maybe she thought she wanted the focus to be only on her and her business, because she's definitely giving haters. So this is your first event on a show that's supposed to be a collective, and you're having a couples event, and the only person invited is the single person. But she wasn't invited to participate. She was invited to work for Tiffany, because that's what Tiffany likes. She likes people around working for her. So Amber said, she's there. I'll be there. I'll be hosting. I'll be working the door, and I'll be hosting. I don't know why Amber needed to work the door for, 6 couples. It wasn't like a club event. It was an invitation event. So, her hosting, I guess, is picking up behind guests or whatever her job was to do. Stormi invited herself. She was like, I'll come. I'll work the door with Amber. Amber is, they work together, so they're friends. And so she's thinking, I'm going to just come here to this event and hang out with Amber. It's the show. What are we doing over here? And so Fumi was like, okay, well, I'll come work the door with them. And now Tiffany's like, I don't want y'all all there working the door. She doesn't want y'all there, period, because she wants this to be about her and her husband, and the people could see Amber over there working for her for free, I'm assuming. Because her job with Stormi is a real job. CFO, that's a big deal. So Amber is over there, making coin with Stormi. I don't know why you would think it would be so important for her. I mean, this is her franchise, and this is her event. So yeah, the people came over to her couples event. They played tic-tac-toe. She wants the people to see that Christians can have fun too. So they were, popping a balloon on people's lap. It was a lot of sexual stuff going on there. Tic-tac-toe with solo cups. We gonna play like simulating? We're simulating fellatio over here. We got a bottle between our legs. The men have a bottle between their legs, and the women are sticking a straw in the hole. So yeah, this is what the Christians are over here doing, and at their couples group. I can tell you what. Me and my man could go out to a party. We can even go to a couples event, but I will not be on my knees sticking no straw in no bottle that he's holding between his legs. So there you go. Actually, the people are having a good time. Fumi, after Tiffany left Fumi's house, who was it? Sonetta and Amber both told her that she should go to this event and talk to Tiffany. You know what I'm saying? So maybe, they could figure out what the funk is between them. And she said, okay, I'll go talk to her and I'll leave. And they were like, or stay, if the conversation goes well. At the end of the day, for me, I think Tiffany is on bullshit and trying to exclude all the Bells from being at her damn event. Sonetta was invited, but she didn't bring her husband. So all the Bells were there without their partners, because it seems like they men don't want to be bothered. Courtney, he don't do too much of that stuff, that hanging around with these are Bells. So Fumi pulls Tiffany aside at her game night to, just try to figure out like what's the vibe between them. I don't really think they came to any resolve in this moment. Tiffany was a little combative. In her mind, she's like, I didn't invite you to come here anyway. And this is my event, and the attention is supposed to be on me. And she's not acknowledging, like, lady, I don't know what you're talking about. And to be honest, I think Tiffany is well aware of what she does and how people receive her. Because she wants to sun people. She wants people to be serving her. And that's, generally the theme of this first couple of episodes, and how, things left with her and some of the ladies. Would I have had this conversation with her? Probably not. I probably would have just kind of let it ride. I don't vibe with her like that, and kind of see what's up. But Stormy, Fumi she's like I said, outspoken. She want to get to it and find out what's tea. Um, After it was all over, the conversation, Fumi was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and leave, and Stormy went following out behind her to find out like what had happened. Like I said, Trey had already made the decision for Stormy, but she just on a fallback. I'm gonna see what this lady is all about. And Fumi was like, I mean, she was talking about she didn't know what she said, and there was no resolve, like I said. And she was like, it's just a vibe for me, and that's enough. I feel like for most people, usually your instincts are telling you right, and so you let the person be what they want to be. And so when Stormy came in, she came in on Tiffany saying that ruined her party. So she said something to the effect of "Thank y'all for ruining my event." And Stormy immediately was like, "I didn't ruin your event. I was over here, picking up cups and things and helping to host this daggone party." And then Tiffany's then follows up with, "Well, I need you to mop. I need you to mop. I need you to mop. I need you to mop." That's where she went with it. And Stormy is like, "Bitch, you don't know me. What are you talking about, mop?" Was it a big deal? I think in that moment, two things were happening. Stormy thought she was joking. She thought she was being funny. You can't really, I guess, be funny with people that you don't know. Stormy wasn't giving her that Kiki energy. When she went in to hug her, Stormy kind of leaned off like, "I ain't ruined your event. I came over here, helping out, picking up things." Tiffany, I think, is fully aware that Stormy nor Fumi was coming over there to kiss her ass and, work for her event, really. They came over here to hang out. Amber is the one that, works for you and is willing to, run around for you. That's Amber. Because to be honest, she could have just been at home with her niece. But I feel like, the objective for Tiffany was to show off her business and keep the other ladies out, and that's not how this works. This is a reality show. People are going to show up for filming. Stormy had a live for her collab with Lala, and because of how things happened at this couples event, she decided she wasn't having Tiffany there. And so a lot of people were like, I don't know if that's a right thing, to leave her out. I feel like it was absolutely a right thing to leave her out because this is her business and it's very stressful. And she got a lot going on with a live. There's a lot of things moving, you know what I'm saying? And the last thing you need is somebody who's there who you don't know, whether you could trust them or not. And Stormy has dealt with a lot of people that she can't trust. And so, yeah, Tiffany, you gonna sit this one out. Maybe you go mop because, I'm sure Stormy is like, you're not about to sun me. Like, nah, the mop thing rubbed her the wrong way, and I think it's because of where it was coming from. She went as far to say, Stormy, clean up on aisle 4. You got it. Like she was really trying her. Miss Ricky Smiley's niece. Martell was at the live. It was 48 hours. I can't imagine. I didn't catch any of it. I didn't know it was on TikTok. 48 hours live on TikTok. She had Martell over there. At first I was like, what the heck? Why would you have Martell over there? But Martell, the ladies love Martell. So they was over there, eating it up. It was a successful event. I think, she had a little mishap in the beginning that cost her some money because what was actually on the screen and what was being sold was not right. And so, she went over there, she handled it. And the Belle sat down and they did a little, had a little conversation. Everybody was there, like I said, with Tiffany, and she knows she wanted to be there. She talked about her man took her to dinner in Atlanta, whatever it takes to make you feel better. But that's, kind of where the disconnect is starting to happen. Yeah, do I have anything else here? I'm looking at my notes because it's a lot. It's a lot. I covered that. So let's go ahead and get into this last episode. So after the whole fallout, with Mopgate, Amber decides that she wants to get the ladies together. She wants to try to like mend this fence between, her best friend Tiffany, or one of her best friends, and Stormi, her, employer friend. Um, she plans this event at the Civil Rights Institute or something in that nature. Nobody can come. Fumi is at New York Fashion Week. Kayla is not available. Amber is sick. And I'm like, I call bullshit on this because Amber, you're sick and you didn't call us, Stormi and them, and let them know that you're not going to make it. So the only people that show up is Tiffany and Stormi. Now Tiffany is in her feelings, obviously, because she was uninvited to the live event, and she heard from Sonetta that Stormi didn't like the mop comment. They did have one get together, like at the gym or whatever. So, I feel like Tiffany is now trying to work things out so that she's not the villain necessarily. She done called Fumi, and her and Fumi, like, mended fences, whatever. I feel like Fumi doesn't care that much. She got shit to do. She over there trying to get a new house and things. And so she's not focused on whatever Tiffany's foolishness is. I feel like once you get a vibe for a person, you'd be like, okay, I see how you are. And like Letitia Scott, I know what box to put you in. That's that hoe I can't trust. Anyway, not so much. She brings her sidekick Kendra over here. Kendra is a mean girl also. They've come to the conclusion that Stormi has an issue, that she's only focused on her business, herself, and making her money, and she's not interested in serving. It was a joke. If she can't take a joke, then, that's on her. That's kind of where Kendra is coming from. So they show up in this awkward exchange between the two of them. Stormi's got her friend with her. And of course, Tiffany's got her friends. So they're standing outside the Institute having an immature fight. What are you offended by? What did you hear? Did you offend me? Did you think you offended me? It was an immature conversation. But I get where Stormi was coming from. On one hand, I was like, Stormi, just tell her what your problem is. But Tiffany said, Sonetta told me that you had an issue with the mop comment. Honestly, you knew that the lady didn't think it was funny. So Tiffany could have come over there and been like, Stormi, Sonetta told me you had an issue with the mop comment. And I was just kidding. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. We don't know each other yet. And so maybe you just need a little time to get to know my sense of humor. But she wanted to come over here, and so what is your problem? What was your problem with what I said? So, the conversation started off combative because Stormi is looking cute as she wants to in that hat. Clearly it's cold, that's why she was over there asking this lady to check her coat. But yeah, the exchange went back and forth with no resolve. Tiffany and her friend walked off, saying, Storm, it's an honor to serve. Jesus served. And I was like, that is not what this is. You like Stormi said, if it's such an honor to serve, then why are you laughing? Why do you think it's a joke? I think she did think it's a joke because for her, like Tiffany, she likes to see people in that position. I think the difference is Stormi has this business and she puts people on in order, for her business to flourish, and she bringing people along on a journey. Tiffany is Ricky Smiley's niece, and her best friend is the mayor's wife. So she feels like she has some type of status. She's been chosen. Her man surprised her with a surprise wedding, and a baby the same night. So, I'm guessing, she's thrilled to be chosen by God, according to her. Anyway, Tiffany and Kendra have already decided, what they think about Stormi. She's all about herself and her money. She doesn't know how to serve. This is the stuff they were saying about her. And Stormi has already decided about, how she feels about Tiffany. And I think Trey is responsible for that. She brings bad energy. Nobody got time for that. So we'll see what happens. At this point, there's no resolve. They walked away and nothing was handled. Nothing was Nothing was resolved. They don't like each other. So, this will be the tension, this will be the mess. And, like I said, we need a little bit of that. We're over at Stormi's house over in Birmingham. Right, that's not it. Where is little Chase? Here we go. Stormy had a little moment with Chase. This was so cute. He's growing up so fast. I was like, what a blessed child to be, you know, in this house. I love the exchange. Some of the kids come on TV, and this one has got a lot of personality. They had little scavenger hunts. So she's building a house for her mother, who, by the way, Stormy said when she told her mother about her idea of Canvas Beauty, her mother said she was a stupid bitch. And so here we are years later, after calling her a stupid bitch for following her dream. Now she's in a position to finance your new home. So they're building her 35 square foot home. And Chase is over here. He's about to get some things to put, and he knows what she says. We're going to do a scavenger. No, she asked him what a time capsule was. And he was like, it's for burying underground. And I was like, okay, Chase. And then she said, well, let's do a scavenger hunt. He doesn't know what that is. So they run around the house, and he picks some things to put in his box, and they're going to bury it on the property where her parents are building, so that when he has kids, he can dig it up and show his kids, what a cute idea. I love that. So yeah, we're getting just to see a little bit more of Stormi in her real life. And, Stormi as a mom, we know that Stormi had a really hard time delivering her baby. And, what a blessing he is. So Tiffany, I guess she's still on, trying to repair and, make alliances for the most part. So she invites Kayla over to lunch. And Kayla said if the lady would have told her no, she didn't want to go. What is going on? I did not click nowhere near that. It's just putting up here what it wants to. That is really wild. I did not ask for that. There we go. This is not user error, y'all. This is definitely something going on. Anyway, Tiffany invites Kayla to lunch with her and Kendra. And during this lunch, Kayla was definitely just being very open, very transparent. She was telling them like how she was sheltered, and she, had this husband that kept her in for the most part. She was really young. She missed the part of her life where she got to make friends. And so I think Kayla spends her time. She's got 4 kids. So she spends her time just being a mom and, and doing her business. And, it seemed like a cool conversation. Kendra asked her, like, going through a divorce, how are you? And, obviously it's hard going through a divorce. And she asked her, like, how was that? Like, who did you talk to? If you don't have any friends, like, who did you turn to in this, because from 18 to 30 something, this is all she knows. So it's not like, oh, I just got a divorce. This is a life-changing thing that is happening. She's like not long gone through it. So she's still dealing with, not having her husband in the house and, being on her own and everything. And she said she turned to tequila. And so she said she was drinking a lot. Like she definitely was self-medicating, trying to manage her way through the situation. And in that moment, Tiffany seemed like she was bonding with her on something real. She said, she was also drinking a lot when her mother passed away. I think that's normal when you're dealing with grief and that kind of thing. Losing a husband is grieving. Losing a parent is grieving. And yeah, so they both, connected on turning to alcohol. And she's like, I don't do that anymore. I have found my way through that. And, while they're sitting there eating, everybody was supposed to be at the Civil Rights Institute. And so Kayla says to Tiffany, so how was the Civil Rights Institute? At this point, she's probably thinking she was the only one that didn't go. She didn't know that everybody didn't go. And Kendra said, well, we never made it inside. And so Kayla's like, why? What happened? So instead of just saying what happened, Tiffany, her whole energy changed. And now she's like, yeah, I don't like to talk about things in front of everyone. I prefer to take it to the person so we can resolve it. And Kendra's like, I mean, Kayla is like, well, if you're not talking, if you haven't talked to Stormi, like, how do you resolve something without talking? And so, in Kayla's words, Tiffany was being very cryptic about what happened. Now she's put it in her head that Kayla came over here. You're friends with Stormi, right? In her mind now, she's saying Kayla came over here to spy for Stormi. And I'm like, how? You invited her over here. Did Kayla know about the whole mop situation? Yeah, that had been talked about, but I feel like Kayla was like, so how did the mop situation have anything to do with what happened over here? Obviously, something else happened at the Institute. It involves the mop situation, but she was just asking questions, I feel like. And the more she asked questions, then the more Tiffany had this attitude. And after a while, Kendra was just like, I'm ready to go. Shoot, I don't need no new friends. She's the one that doesn't have any friends. And I was like, oh, is this from the Jesus girl? Is that how you treat people? Because I think that's very messed up that she just opened up to y'all about, turning to alcohol during her time of grief and not being able, to really live a young girl's life because she was sheltered by this old ass man that married her when she was 18 years old. That's, she was very candid, very open with the story. And this ignorant lady, Kendra, just throws it back in her face. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is how y'all, when you Jesus girls, Christ girls groups show up, y'all always show up like this. And this is why people feel the way they do about the church and Christians, because y'all always show up like this. This wasn't even a conversation that had to turn this way. Tiffany, again, could have easily said, Stormi was offended by the comment, the mop comment, and we didn't get to resolve it over there at the Institute, but maybe I'm going to reach out to her and we'll get that opportunity to do that. It would have been an end of the discussion, but the way she was like saying little bits of this and little bits of that, it was confusing, and it just made Kayla, have more questions. And so, I don't know. They were talking down her. She does a very good job, I think, of standing up for herself when, people are coming at her crazy. So there was a moment where she was talking to her son, and she asked him, did he get in trouble in school? So clearly he's a troublemaker, because, why would you ask him, did you get in trouble in school today? But he explained the situation. I guess he was goofing around, and the teacher said, don't just to ignore him because he's trying to get attention. And his response to the teacher was, get off my meat. And her reaction was laughter. Oh my God, you didn't say that like that. And I was like, I mean, the way I would have packed my kid up to go back to school to have an apology, and, me and the teacher figure out like what is, what kind of punishment, what are we going to do, for him to make up for his disrespect. But, she laughed. That's why I said she was like the oldest sister in this house, like, giggling and laughing with her kids because, the daddy of the house was raising all of them, including her. So, yeah, anyway, like I said, she does a good job of standing up for herself. It didn't end well. It ended with them scraping their food off the plate. It was so awkward and weird. And the way Tiffany dismissed her, Kendra walked away. Now they can't. Oh no, they didn't come in the same car. Kendra walked away because she doesn't need any new friends. And Tiffany dismissed this lady again, like, I'll take the check. Thank you for coming, as if. And Kayla said she was finna take her food because her shrimp and grits was delicious. So she wasn't about to worry about any of that. Then she went outside and called Stormi, like, what the heck happened? Because this lady is over here. Oh, excuse me. What the heck happened? Because this lady is over here talking about a mop situation, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell she's talking about. So, we all trying to figure it out. I wish they would go ahead and have the conversation, like for real, because like I said, the back and forth was kind of immature. Stormi goes over to, to the estate where her mother is building. She said her parents have 5 acres. And, when I was watching this, I was like, this is what I want. Like, I've been looking like on TikTok and different places and seeing how these builders are throwing these houses together raggedy. I want to see mine come up like this so I can have an eye on every little thing. So they're walking through, the property, And, Stormy got emotional because she was talking about her mother, how her mother loved her. They have it's a strange, relationship. She said her mother's love was tough. And, she said that, a lot of times people will tell her like how her mother says that she's proud of her, but she doesn't necessarily share that with Stormy. And then her mom brought up her grandfather. It made her emotional because her grandfather was like, I guess she was very close to her grandfather, and he passed away before he got a chance to meet the baby. And, that was very hard for her. But, shout out to her parents for 5 acres. See, that's how it is living. That's the difference between living down south and living, you know what I'm saying, up north where there's no land. Like at some point they bought 5 acres and they knew they were going to do something with it. So now, Stormy is helping them build their dream home. Her mother's attitude sucks so bad. She didn't annoy me this time. I feel like we need our interactions with Betty to be limited because Betty is something else. This Galentine's Day party. This is an event thrown by Sonetta. It was pretty. It wasn't like what Stormy had going on, but it was a pretty event. Everybody came out dressed in red. All the ladies, the Christ girls are all there, and of course Kayla is by herself. And this is her first time seeing Kylan since she put that comment under her picture. And Kylan is like, I'm about to address that as she should. I think, Kyla. Kayla was dead ass wrong for that. And if you're going to do that, you know what I'm saying? Then you better be ready to reap the consequences. I don't need to go on a Valentine's Day event like all girls just because I don't like Valentine's Day. It's going to be Valentine's or not. Oh, sorry. I've been going on too long about these, bells, but that's what happens when I come in on episode 5, come over here and try to talk about it. Kylan and Amber, well, first of all, Kylan, she sees Kayla. Now I'm getting dizzy over here trying to get all these K's together. She pulled her to the side. Kylan pulled Kayla to the side and just let her know like she didn't appreciate, what she put under her comments. But Kayla was crying. She came in there crying. She said she'd been crying all day. She couldn't talk about it to protect her children. That's what she said. I don't know if that was it or if she just didn't want to be bothered with, being confronted about this, because Amber already confronted her when they went over to the gym. But since it was an issue between her and Kyla, that's the last one. Since it's an issue between her and Kyla, she knew that, Kylan, she had to address her directly. So, I mean, they had a conversation, honestly, and it went well. Kylan seems to be very sweet. So, there was no screaming. She let her know she didn't appreciate it. She said it reminded her of, she's got a very up personality. And she said it reminded her of being in high school where the mean girls were, but would put things under her post. She is very high energy, but she seems to be very sweet. And it was very nice to see that this is how they came to resolve. So hopefully, I feel like they are closer in age, and hopefully they will be able to bond. If Kayla is open to it, she might be a hard bone to crack. And because Amber doesn't like her for whatever reason, she might, put a monkey wrench in that because that's her niece. But at the end of the day, they had the conversation. Kyla handed her a napkin with her face on it. She was like, I'm going to take this napkin. Yeah, and that's how that ended. It wouldn't be nice if all the issues got resolved like this. I don't see Stormi and Tiffany hugging it out anytime soon, but at least this situation ended well. Kayla said she was done. She was ready to go. She had a rough day. She's been crying all day and she was ready to leave. And then Amber and Kylan, rejoined the party and had a little conversation with Tiffany. Now, Tiffany, and she's not the only one. Every time, on these shows where they retell the story about how things happen, they really try to make light of their wrongdoings. And so she was expressing to Kayla. Tiffany was expressing to Kayla and Amber how I know you work for Stormi and everything, but I didn't like how things turned out, and I guess we're gonna have to. She was basically throwing assault at Stormi. She ain't feeling Stormi, and Amber is like, listen, I care about both of you. I'm on these hormones. I just want everybody to get along. I don't have the energy to be trying to go back and forth in between. And I'm like, both of them work for Stormi. So I don't know what, she expects to happen with these ladies, but obviously they're not going to turn on Stormi. Not when I'm CFO girl. What would you like for me to do over here? It's interesting because Miss Christ Girl, leader of the Christ Girls, when Kayla walked in the room, she was like, I see Kayla walking in, the one person that's by herself, which again, this is the Christ Girl. So I don't know she didn't do anything to you. The dinner went left because you made it go left. And now you're sitting over here talking about, I'm not going to speak to Kayla because it's not me not being mean. It's just me setting boundaries. And so you can't even say hello to someone who's a part of the collective. So, that's how, Tiffany is over here, pick on this girl who doesn't, and I'm not saying feel sorry for Kayla. I'm gonna mess that up one more time. I'm not saying feel sorry for Kayla because she seems to be holding her own. She definitely speaks up for herself, and I do like that. So yeah, we'll see how this whole thing goes. Next week, Stormi is having an event at her house. She's hosting the ladies over there, and she is inviting Tiffany. And this is the difference. This is my house. This is not my business. So that's why I'm like, I fully understand why Stormi didn't have Tiffany over there, because no, not here, not why I'm trying to handle this. This is too much of a big deal. And I'm doing the first collaboration with Lala Anthony. Yeah, you won't get to receive any of this, girl. So you go mop up aisle 4. Next week, if things go left over at Stormi's house, I think her and Tiffany, I guess they just gonna be enemies at least this season, because Tiffany, said something crazy, allegedly, I guess. We're going to see. And Stormi then kicked her out of the home. I did it. I hope y'all enjoyed that update. Like I said, if you haven't been watching, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. There's enough business. There's enough real life interests. All of these ladies seems to be sharing, what's going on in their real life. Even Tiffany's fake as hell, and that's how she'll move through, her and her mean friend Kendra. And yeah, I don't know how many episodes they're gonna get. I see 7. Usually they do 8, but they did do 7 episodes last time, and we'll see what happens, y'all. I'll be back next Saturday. I don't want to fall behind again, but now that I don't have so much on my plate, we can go ahead and work this thing out. But yeah, I'll be back Saturday to discuss episode 6. In the meantime, y'all, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye, y'all.